This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruz and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes right here on Blog Talk Radio. This is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. We welcome your calls, your comments, your questions. If you want to call the studio, you can do so at 347-857-3958. Again, that number here is 347-857-3958. Guys, we broadcast this show for you, entrepreneurs. Everything that we do is for and about entrepreneurship. We encourage you to jump in and join our conversation. If you're on Blog Talk and you're in the chat room, go ahead and put your questions in there. We'll be sure to get them announced on the air. Irv?
Yes, sir.
It's Friday, sir.
It's Soapbox Friday.
Oh, my God.
That's what it is.
And you know me with nothing to complain about.
You have nothing to complain about.
Well, something will come to mind.
Yeah, but it's because you're John Cruz. You have life in the sunshine. But for the rest of us out here, I have Soapbox Friday. And guess what this week's Soapbox is?
What's eating you today?
Mean people.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I got a soapbox. What you mad about? Why do you act like that? Hey, you ever notice that? I've run across this week more mean people. It's like, wow, there's a way to do something. Even if you disagree, even if you don't want to participate in whatever somebody might be inviting you to do, there's a way you do that. But you got some of these people, John, they're just mean people.
Especially in business, too. I mean, you know, some people who are looking for someone to mentor them, someone to assist them in their business, if you will.
Right.
And sometimes when you ask someone for some help, it's no need to be mean about it.
That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about these people have a general mean demeanor.
Yeah.
They carry themselves mean. They answer questions mean. And everything they take, you know, if you ask them a question, if you approach them, they respond even in a mean tone.
But you know, I know this is going to sound sick, but I sort of like dealing with mean people.
And why do you like dealing with mean people, John?
Well, because I bring the sunshine.
Well, you know what? I love that, John. You know, everybody, folks, brings sunshine to a room. Some people when they come in, others when they leave.
That's true. That is true. But I mean, you know what? My thing is that, you know, I love to continue to be who I am,
right,
through and through, and
right.
I'm a nice person. I'm genuinely happy all the time.
That's right.
And so even when someone is mean, I still continue to meet them with niceties.
But don't you agree that's a choice of yours?
It is a choice.
That's the
definitely
point.
A choice.
And that is why I'm on my soapbox about it, because I know it's a choice.
And those people are choosing.
They're choosing to be mean.
That's very true.
Yeah,
that's
and then
true.
You know, and then there's people like myself who, of course, if you're mean to me, now I'm accommodating. So now I'm stuck because now I've got to respond in like kind.
And they're forcing you to be something that you're really not.
That's exactly right. And I mean, some of these people are really good at it, being mean. I mean, John, some of them are very provocative.
And professionals.
And and they're professionals. And they're even mean in a professional manner.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that you'll never get from this show.
What's that?
Is that meanness.
No, we're not mean.
We make certain that we bring you a very nice and pleasant overtone at the end of your business day.
That's exactly right.
We know it's been tough out there. You've been fighting the good fight, and this is the time for you to sort of relax. Let's do it with an air of laughter.
That's right.
But also give you some depth and some seriousness and something that you can take and use in your business.
Well, you know, we mix it in here on this show, folks. I mean, you know, we don't hit that business thing too hard. We do want to give you some content that's meaningful and relevant. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're delivering that in a way that, you know, folks, at the end of the day, you can handle it. It's not the same grind that you would have, say, in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Now I have something.
John Cruz.
Is there room on the soapbox?
There's room left on the soapbox for John Cruz. Let's hear it, John.
Let me tell you, you know what really gets me is when I'm talking with an entrepreneur who has no faith in themselves,
Oh,
no faith in what they're doing,
wow.
but they're continuing to do it in hopes that it's almost like winning the lottery. They're doing what they're doing, not knowing that they're going to be successful,
Right.
just hoping that perhaps the gods will open up the heavens and shine and pour down a blessing to them.
Yeah.
And that's really not how you run a business.
Not at all.
You have to run a business knowing full well that you have the capacity and the ability to be successful,
Absolutely.
knowing that you're going to meet the people that you need to meet to help make you successful. You have to know that. You got to get up every single day and do business with that mindset.
Absolutely.
And when I see people who are not living up to who they really are, that bothers me.
Yeah. Well, see, but that's a soapbox, John.
Yeah.
And you tried to say you didn't have a soapbox.
Yeah, well, I got something.
Yeah, but
And it's that.
you're talking about uninspired business people.
Uninspired business people. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. Everybody goes through tough times.
Sure.
Everybody does.
That's right.
And so what makes you think that it's going to be any different for you? I mean, do you think that you're just going to waltz in, get a DBA and a business license, open up and put your shingle out there, and all of a sudden business is just going to run to the door?
Bang, you're a millionaire.
I wish it would be that easy.
It's just not that simple.
But it's not. However, it is accomplishable, and there's some things that you have to do. But I'm going to tell you, the foundation of success is mindset.
That's right. I agree with that.
And you know what? We're probably going to end up doing a show very soon on that. And it's that thinking like a champion.
That's right. Getting your head right.
If you don't have that, getting your head right. If you don't have that, you don't have anything. I don't care how good your product is, how cheaply you'll sell it. I mean, there are people out there right now that are losing $2 or $3 on every widget, and they still can't move.
Yeah, and not only that, but then they're looking for ways to move those widgets that they're losing on faster.
You can't give it away. If you put them out by the roadside, you'd probably get a ticket for littering, and they bring them right back to you.
Still be there in the morning.
That's how bad it would be. So, but the thing is, if you got your mindset together, if you know what you're doing, if you know what you want in life, you can get it. And I hate to sound so cliche, but that's it. We're going to do a show on that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I agree with that. I think we need to do that because you know what? If there's nothing more damaging, I think, to a small business owner than to be socked with what I call vertigo. When you're in business, maybe you started a business and it's uninspired, you're not sure what direction you should be going. There's no vectors for you to follow, and you don't know which way up is anymore. And I call that vertigo. Yeah,
Okay.
You're literally in trouble because you could be going 100 miles an hour into the ground, but you can't tell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a real issue. But you know what?
What?
We ought to talk about whether or not people should start home-based businesses right now. What's your take on that?
Considering that I have run a couple of home-based businesses,
Sure.
I'm pro home-based businesses.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am. However,
Okay.
I have to qualify that.
All right.
There is a certain way that you do it if you're going to be a home-based business.
All right.
But I'm all for it.
You all for home-based
Yeah.
business? Okay. Well, you know what? I was a little surprised that you said that, John, considering I know a little bit about John's background here, folks, and let me just tell you what. He's all humble here on the show, but this dude has really had some serious success out here and still has it. Still sought after. That's why sometimes you tune into this show and there's a guest host over here with me because he's sought after, and then they're just people looking for me. But at any rate, I know that you've been in businesses, and certainly we've talked about your mortgage banking business and so on, where you had these huge offices and all these employees and so on and so forth. So I'm a little surprised that you would be a pro home-based business.
I believe in starting with where you are and what you have.
Mm-hmm.
And if what you have is just enough to start your business from home, then God doggone it, start it. Do it.
Yeah. So you're saying don't necessarily wait for all the conditions to be right.
Oh, wait for what?
Yeah.
I mean, you wait long enough, and then whatever it is that you wanted to do is no longer relevant.
Yeah.
Don't wait. Start now.
Now you missed your window.
You missed your opportunity.
Yeah.
Get out there and start. But there's a way that you do it. So we can sort of break that down later on in the show in terms of how you do a home-based business. Just like I said, there's nothing wrong with being a small business, but there's everything in the world wrong with looking like one.
Now, let's I want to touch on that, John, because I hear you say that all the time. What are some of the things that you see that small businesses do, even though there may be home businesses, maybe a couple of points? What are those things that make them look small?
Well, some of those things are, let's start with your brand. And understand that every single thing that you do in business represents your brand. From the time that you walk out your door, the way that you dressed represents your brand. The business card that you hand out represents your brand. So if you're handing me a business card that's been printed on a home dot matrix printer with a perforated edge and the words are gradually sliding off the edge of the card, that lets me know everything that I need to know about your business, the quality that you produce, and the type of care you put behind your service or your product. I don't want any part of that.
Well, I don't know, John. That's starting to sound a little bit like a soapbox, right?
Hey, well, those are the things that bug me. And like I say, it's nothing wrong with being a small business.
Sure.
But everything in the world is wrong with looking
like got you.
one.
Well, that's good stuff.
We're going to fix that, though.
Yeah, okay.
All right, stay tuned. We're going to go to break right now. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of home-based businesses, and we encourage you to join the conversation. You can either give us a call right here in the studio at 347-857-3958 and let us know if you are working or running a home-based business. Otherwise, you could go right into Blog Talk, go into the chat room, and put your questions or comments right in there. We'll read them aloud on the air. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, which is brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. It's the one magazine that's for and about Houston's entrepreneurs. So if you want to know who the movers and shakers are in the small business community here in the state of Texas, in the city of Houston, go to smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com. More in a moment with Irv and John. We'll be back right after these messages.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan,
The storm's coming.
the legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gaussian Reckoning. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Irv and I are talking today about home-based businesses. Should you start one? The answer is yes. If you want to be in business and the only thing that you can do is afford to start one from your home, most definitely do it. But you want to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons.
Yeah, I really do, because I really believe, and first of all, let me just say this. Let me start by saying I agree with you 100%, John, that if that's where you are and that's what you need to do, then by all means do it. I run into a lot of people, John, who will say, well, you know what, Irv, I don't have the money to start a business, whatever that means. I'm not sure what that means, but to me, if you don't have any money, you better figure out what you're going to do. All right. If you're underemployed and your job is just not generating the income that you're used to or that you need, you've got to do something. And so starting a home-based business might be an answer for you. But as you say, John, there's ways to do that. And certainly, folks, there are pros and cons to starting a home-based business.
Right.
And, I'll start us off, because one of the cons that comes to mind immediately is why you should not be considering starting a home-based business. And everybody's condition is different, folks. But I'm going to tell you, if you live in an area where you've got deed restrictions, things that restrict you from starting a business in your house, you better be careful there. But I mean, you could literally lose your home because you're in violation of these deed restrictions.
True, because some deed restrictions, depending on where you live, they don't want you to run a home-based business. You can't run a business of any sort.
That's right.
And quite honestly, I can respect that. I mean, if I lived next door to you,
sure, and
you are now all of a sudden in the dump truck business, and you're trying to run that business from your house, then I'm not going to be too happy with you parking dump trucks on the street or in your driveway.
I have to agree. I would consider that to be problematic for me.
Yeah. And these really aren't reasons not to start a home-based businesses. These are just or a home-based business. These are just obstacles to consider overcoming before you start your business.
Absolutely. Things to consider. Absolutely.
So if your deed restrictions are such that you cannot run a business out of your neighborhood, you need to be very careful in what you're doing, and you have to think about too. Am I in the type of business where I'm going to have a lot of foot traffic out of my home?
That's right.
Because that's going to be a dead giveaway.
Absolutely, and not only that, but a lot of motor traffic. If you're going to have a whole bunch of cars parked on your driveway and on your neighbor's driveway and in front of your neighbor's house, that could be an issue.
Yeah, not going to work. One of the other cons that I can think about. If you're in a business where you meet with clients and you're constantly meeting at a Starbucks or you're constantly meeting at a Denny's, depending on what business you're in,
sure,
your client could associate that with you having no credibility.
Right.
Because let's be honest, if someone's in the financial services business,
right,
and you're asking me to invest $50,000 or $100,000 into something.
Yeah.
I want to see where you do business, and I want to see some of the people that work in your office.
Absolutely.
So I'm not going to bring my bank statements to a coffee shop.
Right.
I'm not going to bring my financials to Denny's and hand those over. So you have to really think about that. Yeah,
and not only that, I mean, if you're in a business where you're going to handle a whole lot of people's personal information, there is a comfort level that people need to get to with that. Certainly, I know as soon as I say that, John, that there are some financial services professionals in whatever it is you're doing that you may very well be running out of your house because you're getting going and whatnot. But does that lend credibility to you? Probably not. And in this day and age, folks, you don't have to necessarily do that. because, John, there are alternatives, as far as being in a home, but you might have a home-based business, but it might be a good idea to at least have a lease, a virtual office space, perhaps, where you can meet people in a business setting and have a business address and so on.
And that's one of those things that we can do when we talk about doing it right. That's definitely one of those things.
Sure.
I mean, there's a way that you do it, and there's ways.
That's what you were getting at earlier.
Yeah, that's what there are ways to get around these obstacles.
Sure.
But these are definitely things to think about. So if you're in the type of business where it does require you to meet with clients, just keep in mind, I mean, are you meeting with the type of clients? Are you selling the type of product that at some point someone is going to want to see where you office from?
Right. Well, I've got another one.
All right.
No space in the house for an office. How about that one?
Yeah.
I mean,
I would associate that with not having a professional setting.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, because you don't have a professional setting. You can't set up a desk. You can't set up your computers. You can't literally set up an office at the house because there's just no room for that. And what I mean by that, maybe you do have a home. Maybe you have a place where you could set that up, but you don't have room for anything else. For example, you probably don't want to set up your desk and chair in the kitchen.
Nah,
probably not the right place.
Not a good idea.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying, if you're in a compressed area, you might not have room to set up a home-based office.
Yeah,
and so that could be an issue.
Well, and when we think about that, I mean, just working from home in and of itself does provide some issues.
Right. Oh, no doubt.
And we could definitely say that there are distractions working from home.
No doubt.
I mean, I got to tell you a funny story. I had a friend of mine who ran a mortgage business from his house, and he had this dog.
Oh boy.
That would only bark when my friend got on the telephone.
Right.
So he takes the dog and is trying to stop this dog from barking. and he can't do it. He's putting him in other rooms. I mean, and the dog, he's quiet. And when that phone rings and he picks it up, the more he talks, the more the dog barks. So one day I call him up and I'm like, all I can hear is this dog. And it sounds like the dog is yapping like right into the phone. So I tell him, Anthony, put the dog outside. And he screams back into the receiver, he is outside. Oh! So the dog would run around the yard, right by the window where he had his office, and would bark right into the window. Wow. So you talk about a major distraction.
That is a major distraction. It's really funny because dogs are a big deal, and of course, most dogs. I'm a dog lover, and dogs are, part of the family. But boy, I got to tell you, I've got one of my dear close family members has a dog. And I promise you, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a type of dog. I need to look into that. But every time the phone rings or every time she's on the phone, the dog wants to talk to her.
He goes bananas.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything like that. And then once the dog ate through his internet connection outside, you know what happened to the dog. The dog had to find a new address.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, but so you got the distraction.
Yeah, distractions.
What else could be a con associated with working from home?
I think if you're in a business that requires you to have on-site employees, I think that could be a real issue with you running a home-based business. If you're in the type of business that you need to have employees, and those employees need to have a workspace, they need to be in a work environment.
Right.
You probably don't want to have employees in your house. Now, granted, I know a lot of people in small business hire relatives. Don't recommend that either. But
that's a whole nother show.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. But if you have employees and your business model literally requires you to have employees that are on site. Now, I know that there are companies and there are small businesses, John, that certainly have employees, but these are virtual employees. These guys are working perhaps out of their house, and they may be working in different places. They may, have the company operating in virtual world.
Right.
And that's okay. But if you have a business, folks, that requires you to have hands-on with your employees and you guys are in a shared space where you can communicate and that sort of thing, you probably don't want to have that in your house.
You know, and some people just do not, they have not gotten the comfort level
Sure.
with working with employees virtually.
Right.
And if you can do that, then it's not a big deal. But if you're the type of person, and I'm sort of this way myself, I sort of want certain operations of my business to be under the same roof.
Right.
And if you're that type of person, some people call it a control freak, and I say that's nothing of the sort.
Mm-hmm.
It's just having a thumb on the product and the quality that you produce.
Yeah, I was going to say, John, that's really quality control.
Right.
In my mind, that's quality control.
Yeah, it's not being a control freak, but if you're that type of person where you have to be very careful in terms of the type of work you give to someone, then having them work from your home is probably not going to be a good issue. You know, when I started my second company, I did it from home.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I grew to a point to where I had to outsource my work,
mm-hmm.
I told my wife, I said, you know, it's time for me to take on a few employees. And her first words were, "So where are you getting an office?"
Yeah.
She was not going to allow me to bring strangers to our home.
Yeah, wives have a way of saying not in my house. Yeah.
Right. So I ended up getting an office.
Yeah, well, you know, I guess too, when you're considering a home-based business, these are not just things that need to be considered. I mean, these are things that need to be seriously considered because they may outweigh the benefits of actually being in a home-based business.
Right, absolutely.
I mean, it just may be too much risk.
Well, you know, and then too, when you think about it, working from home, it takes a special type of person to be able to do that because you're in a relaxed environment. Sometimes it creates a relaxed mindset in the entrepreneur.
That's right, and then you can't get going. You
never can get that ferociousness that you need to take care of business.
That's right.
Some people, you know, can't work from home.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you know what? And I actually was one of those people. I when I started, I was like, you know, and we started out at home,
mm-hmm.
and then we were like, man, I was like, I've got to get out of here.
Yeah.
Because you know I didn't have a set work schedule.
You'd knock off early.
Oh, knock off early, you know, go to bed too late, all that kinds of stuff. And you know, just didn't have a good business environment altogether.
Gotcha.
Too much for that. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by the Lexington Law Firm. When you need credit help, get a free consultation today by calling 888-744-7081. Stay with us. The education continues in a moment.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com. All right, welcome back to the show. We're talking about home-based businesses, the pros and cons of home-based businesses. Now, in the last segment, we talked about some of the things that you need to be apprised of before you just stick your shingle out there and you start working from home.
No doubt.
So there's some things to consider.
Sure.
Now, let's talk about some of the pros. I mean, there are some people out there who may have the money or the budget to open up an office. Doesn't always mean that that's the best move for you.
Correct.
But let's talk about some of the pros that are associated with running your business from home.
Well, one of the big things that comes to my mind almost immediately is now you could be eligible for some additional tax deductions that you wouldn't have if you didn't have a home-based business, or any business for that matter.
That's true.
But there's one of them I'm talking about specifically is the tax deduction for having a business in your home.
Right, because you get to write off the space that's used. So if you have allocated 400 square foot to your business, and that's where you do business from, and you have your operation in there, you get to write off those expenses. And if I'm not mistaken, now you CPAs, don't jump on me about this, but I think you also get to write off the portion of your utilities that go towards that percentage of the square footage as well.
I know there's a percentage or some sort of calculation that has to go in there. You know, check with your tax professional, of course. You know, John and I are not CPAs or attorneys here on this show, but certainly this is a good question to ask your tax professional about what that calculation is. But I do think, for example, if you got a 4,000 square foot house and you're dedicated 400 square feet to your business, that, you know, that accounts for about 10% of your house that your business takes up. And it may very well be the case that you also get 10% of whatever your utility expenses and so on. But again, check with your tax professional. But immediately, John, in my mind, man, there might be some tax benefits in starting a home-based business.
Absolutely. And if you're employed, something else to think about. Let's say that you have a job and you want to start your business.
Sure.
You want to start it from home, start small.
Sure.
Make it something that's manageable.
Right.
If you are a corporation with an subchapter S designation, you can pass through some of the business expenses that you have straight to your W-2 income and write off income against your W-2.
And how cool is that?
Yeah, so you definitely want to talk to your tax professional about that, and you can tell them that John Cruz said it.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So what else, John?
I would say
another pro.
You know, I think that the biggest one, other than the write-offs, I would have to say is the time savings.
Oh, yeah.
Associated with working from home.
Now, why do you say that?
Well, because think about it. From your bedroom to your office, there's little or no traffic, especially if you wait until the kids are already off to school before you go to work.
All right, I'll go with that.
But let's think about it. When you look at, if you live in any major metropolitan city, Chicago, Atlanta, New York, D.C., Houston,
yes,
3 hours of your business day could be spent just commuting to one place or another.
Sitting on the freeway.
So it really could make sense then that, you know what, I'm going to put a business in my home.
Right.
I don't have to worry about the commute back and forth.
Right.
And I save myself not only the 1 to 3 hours a day that I would spend commuting, but also the headache and the stresses and the pressure of having to deal with that on a day-to-day basis.
Well, I was immediately thinking about when you mentioned commute, so many things that are associated with a commute. For example, fuel. That's a big deal right now, and it's a big chunk of people's income. Just spending money on fuel, getting to and from work.
Absolutely.
And so, and then there are some companies now I'm hearing that are a lot more environmentally conscious, and they're trying to help take people off the road.
Yeah.
And so, that might be something that's not necessarily a business advantage, but it could be.
Yeah. Well, and when you look at the reduced expenses, overall for running a business from home.
You're talking about just the whole thing.
Yeah, the whole thing. And I think that definitely falls underneath that, because when you look at, what you spend in fuel for being parked on the freeway, if you're on Highway 85 in Atlanta or you're on the I-10 here in Houston, it's a savings there.
Right.
But then there's some other savings that go along with also running your business at home, that there's no wear and tear on your automobile.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So that's something that saves you money as
That's
well.
right.
And if you're in professional dress every day, your cleaning bill has been significantly reduced.
Eating out, because you know what? You have a big tendency to want to eat out.
Yeah. Well, I always say lunch is for wimps.
Oh, that's what you always say.
However, you're more inclined to eat lunch, especially if you have a producer by the name of Stephen K.
Yeah.
He will put pressure on you to eat lunch. And some people just don't have the $10 or $15 a day that it takes to eat out with this guy.
Yeah, you know what? Let me tell you what, the big thing about Steve is you can tell that he enjoys his lunch right in front of you.
Oh, man. He looks forward. He gets up in the morning thinking about what he's going to have for lunch.
So we're busting Steven's chop. You shouldn't be doing that, because he has a microphone.
Yeah, he could just hit the mute button on me and shut me up.
Yeah, you better be careful with that.
All right. Well, now we've talked about the reduced expenses. We've talked about you're more inclined to eat lunch. You could save some money there.
Right.
You don't have fuel expenses if you're working from home, because you're not going through that commute. You save time by not commuting.
Sure.
The wear and tear.
Right.
On your vehicle is saved also, because you're not beating up your vehicle every single day to rush to a place to do work. You save on your laundry.
No doubt.
But what about not having a commercial lease?
Yes, that is a huge one, because guess what? Rent is a big overhead for a lot of small
generally
businesses.
Behind employees, for some small businesses, rent is the largest expense that they pay on a monthly basis.
No doubt.
So if you got 2,000 square feet that you work from, having an office, you're going to probably spend $2,500 a month.
That's right.
If you reduce that down and you're working out of 400 to 600 square foot in your house, you're paying your rent or your mortgage bill every month anyway.
Right.
So you could really save your business some money by not having a commercial lease.
Yeah, no doubt. You know what? You reminded me of this, is that if you took your P&L. You ever notice how rent is always near the top of the list of your expenses on your P&L?
Yes, it is.
It's always amazing.
Why is that?
Because it's expensive. That's why.
Yeah, it's always like the first or second line.
It is, man. It's always that kind of thing. And one other pro why you might want to consider starting a home-based business is perhaps you have mobility issues. If you have mobility issues, I'm talking about physical issues where maybe you're in a situation where you need mobility assistance. Maybe you got issues with getting in and out of a car. Maybe you have issues with getting upstairs. Maybe those are some things. Maybe you have physical limitations.
A couple years ago, and I do not know where I read it, but I read somewhere where the largest segment of individuals that were starting home-based businesses were people who were disabled.
Sure. Yeah. People with different disabilities. And let me tell you what, a lot of people, when you say disability, a lot of times people think, well, that means inability. Well, it doesn't mean that.
That's correct.
It just means that now they've got to do things differently than they used to do.
Right.
And, talking about disabilities too, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're requiring some apparatus to move around. A disability might be you have carpal tunnel. What I mean? That's a disability.
Yeah, and if you're trying to type or write extensively, that's a huge challenge.
That's a huge challenge.
Yeah.
And so, a good reason to start a home-based business is just because maybe you got some issues where it's not that easy anymore for you to move around.
Yeah.
And maybe you want to still get the rush of being in business like you always were, but now you've got to adjust. And so that's a good reason.
I hired a young lady to do some cold calling for me. This was maybe 7-8 years ago, and she cold called for us for about 1.5 years, 2 years. We never met her.
Wow.
And when we did, she was in a wheelchair.
Wow.
And she said that was the reason why she started her business, was because she just did not want to have to go through the trouble of loading up her chair, and it just took so much out of her. So she figured out, what could I do from home? She said, I know most people hate cold calling.
Right.
So she had a business where she would call and find leads for businesses. And I thought, man, how great is that?
That's
you do something that other people do not want to do, that they fear doing, and you become very proficient at it because it works with your physical limitations.
No doubt. Well, how about this one, John? How about just getting laid off? How about that? You
can't find work.
You can't find work. You had a job. Guess what? And they went a different direction. They had a reduction in force. Whatever they title it as today. The point is you don't have a job right now.
Right.
And you got to do something.
No doubt.
And so the question is, now what is that something?
Now, that's the question of the year. There's no limit to the number of people out there who are underemployed, unemployed, still struggling to make it through the recession, if you will.
Sure.
Regardless of what the people in Washington say,
recession's over, John.
Yeah, that's what they tell me. But the thing is that I want to do something.
Right.
I'm willing to do it from home.
Right.
What should I do?
Yeah, and you know what? We ought to get into some of that because a lot of people out there, and let me just tell you, folks, we know here at Cruz and Hughes that some of you have some ideas that you have not launched.
Right.
Ideas that you have not put into play for whatever reason. And, I want to encourage you, start right where you are. Do whatever it is you have in mind to do. All we're saying is you need to take some considerations. You need to plan that thing. Don't just run out there and start your business without giving any thought to what the downside consequences might be and weighing that against whatever you consider to be the upside in you starting the business.
Right.
Because you can get into just as much trouble starting a business at home as you could from the benefits of starting a business at home. You can have that thing where you didn't plan it very well and now you got trouble.
Right.
And we don't want that for you.
And there is that segment out there too that they don't have an idea. They got the ambition and the desire, but they don't know what it is that they want to do. They're looking for something that they can unleash themselves on. So maybe in the next segment, what we should do is maybe talk about a couple things that you could consider doing from home. And remember, this is not a pitch for. We're not telling you that you should consider this. No. We're not telling you that you should do this. These are just some things for you to consider if you don't have an idea, but you do have the desire.
Absolutely. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, and it's brought to you by Sales Nexus. Listen, if you don't have a customer relationship management system, consider Sales Nexus. You can get more information at salesnexus.com. We use it here on the show. It's a fantastic customer relationship management system, has some great benefits to even help you get started, especially if you're a startup, by populating your database with some new, fresh leads, and you can get those every month. So be sure and go on salesnexus.com and download your free trial. You get a free trial for like 30 days. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now,
Excuse me, heavy news?
you know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The storm's coming. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm Gautam Zirkabin. The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. If you're just joining in, Herb and I have been spending the day talking about the pros and cons of starting and running and operating a home-based business. Should you do it? What are some of the things that you should consider? And now we're to the part of the show where we're going to talk a little bit about what are some of those things that you can do from home.
Yeah, and folks, understand we're not pitching these things to you for you to go out and say, hey, you need to buy into this or do this or that. We're just saying, hey, here's some things to consider, some types of businesses to look at that perhaps you could run and start and run successfully from your home. And one of the first ones, John, is, and I know you're going to love this, is real estate professional.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, there's all kinds of different real estate professionals that do a myriad of different things. But there's a big number of real estate professionals that I've met and that I've known over the years that have never been out, had a business or an office outside of their home.
You could be a real estate salesperson. You could be someone who appraises property. You could be someone who inspects property. You can do all that from home. You could be someone who does repairs on property. Right. So, I mean, that works.
Sure.
That works.
Sure. So, but now what are some of those things? I mean, because John, you spent quite a bit of your career, a big part of your career in the mortgage banking business. Did you have any loan professionals that were home-based?
A lot of them.
Really?
A lot of them. We had over 140 salespeople, and I would say that our office was only equipped to house maybe 25 or so at one time.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of the people who worked for us worked from home.
Okay, and you were comfortable with that, though?
More than comfortable.
Well, that's because you had a really great system, though.
Yeah, we had a really good system there, and great employees that really helped keep that system moving.
Okay.
So, but yeah, you could do that from home.
So what else comes to mind as a way of
now that you mentioned that, I mean, just about any type of sales. I mean, if you're a sales professional, there are a lot of different areas of sales that you could do from home. Pharmaceutical sales.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You could sell real estate financing.
Sure.
From home. I don't know what else comes to mind, but if you work in the capacity of a salesperson, a lot of people do it from home and from their car.
Well, I was just thinking about too, manufacturers representatives.
Okay.
My wife has a great rep business,
Mm-hmm.
and she runs it from our home. And
Gotcha.
and it's a big business.
Yeah.
I mean, but now she's really experienced in this. So she's run these big operations with multi-states and all this kind of thing.
So
But-
she has the discipline that it takes to also work from home.
Exactly.
Which is huge.
Yeah, that's right. And that's part of the reason why she's been successful
Surely.
over the years in doing these things, with a home-based business. And of course, she got into this because, somewhere in there, she, wanted to change her career, and come out of corporate America and raise her children and, look after her home and all that.
Which is an excellent reason to start a home-based business.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that, but
Yeah.
that's a really good one.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
a really good one. Okay.
Another one is if you are selling online. There are a lot of companies who I had a friend of mine once. She had a online high-end pet store.
An online high-end store.
Pet boutique.
Oh, pet boutique.
Yes.
An online pet boutique.
Yeah. I mean, she had a
Wow.
dog bed on there that was over $5,000, and I'm telling you,
dog bed.
It was crazy. But she did it from home.
Wow.
And so because her website was her store, she didn't need a location. She worked from home, and the website, it did what it needed to do. If you went there, you shopped, you paid, she drop shipped and delivered the products, and she did that from home.
Okay, so you're saying the entire transaction didn't, in other words, her business model didn't require people to meet with her physically.
No.
I got you.
And they bought these they bought these pet products sight unseen.
Wow.
And she just made certain that they were delivered to the right
Sure.
people on the right times, and she had a wonderful business, and she did it from the house. And so if you're in that web business, depending on what it is that you sell, you could possibly do it from home.
You bring up a good point. Now, you piqued my interest there when you mentioned drop ship,
Mm-hmm.
because let me tell you what, folks, there is nice money, big money in the drop shipping business, but you've got to be set up correctly to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I know of quite a few companies that are running home-based businesses, but they're set up as supply companies.
Okay.
And then what they do is, of course, they have different manufacturers who they work with who drop ship for them. So they're not required to carry an inventory is the point.
Gotcha.
And they're not required necessarily to meet anyone because a lot of their business comes in via fax, believe it or not, a lot of fax, a lot of email and that kind of thing. Many of them do have websites, but it's their websites are more geared toward processing orders.
Okay.
And so, we didn't necessarily talk about that, but you just really kind of piqued my interest there talking about
That's an option.
Drop shipping is a good option.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Now, when you think about moving forward, now, did you have any more that you wanted to?
Yeah, well, I was kind of thinking about travel planners.
Hmm.
You get quite a few people who are in the travel, I don't know, I'm going to call it travel support industry. I don't know. They're, of course, they don't own airplanes, and they're not airlines, and they're not, train operators and this kind of thing. But they're in the travel support business. They literally have travel businesses where they sell travel packages and those kinds of things. And so those are some really cool home-based businesses. And then childcare.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of childcare going on. And let me tell you what, there's some big money in childcare.
You're very right.
Because that directly affects somebody's ability to be able
Now, I don't know why anybody would want to run a business like that. But
I don't, but there's a lot of them.
You could do it from home.
Absolutely. And then I've got, lawn and landscaping.
That's also an option.
Great option. Brokers.
Oh, yeah. If you're brokering things, you could do that from home. Especially, I have a friend of mine who is a broker. He brokers just about anything. I mean, railroad ties all the way up to oil and gas barrels. Just about anything he can get his hands on. And the thing that I love most about his business is that his customers are his buyers and sellers are never in the same place. And he still makes a very good living working from home.
Wow. You know what? And I've run across a couple of those guys. I ran across a guy, you mentioned brokerage. I ran across a guy who literally brokered rail cars. And this guy made a load of money. I didn't know that they pay that much money for rail cars.
There's money in that stuff.
But, I mean, where do you even who do you call if you need a rail car?
You know what? And that's really the thing. I say to him all the time. I mean, you get somebody who calls you and he tells you that he's got 5,000 railroad ties. Who do you call? And he says, well, you got to make a series of calls. He said, there's a strategy to it. And then he said, sometimes he doesn't even know who he's going to call.
Wow.
So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we'll tie this off and, cheer our Texans on.
Absolutely.
Who are coming up with a big game this week. Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by GrowSocial.com. Maximize social media like Facebook and Twitter for your business. You can call Grow Social today at 877-484-3961. Stay with us, folks. We're in the home stretch, and we'll be back right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at,
Excuse me, heavy news?
disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee news. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for coffee news. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's coffee news.
Now playing at Regal Entertainment Group Theaters.
From Christopher Nolan. The legend ends in IMAX. What are you? I'm The Dark Knight Rises. Rated PG-13. Visit IMAX.com for showtimes and listings.
Go to www.regmovies.com to find showtimes and buy your tickets to this and other great feature films now. That's www.regmovies.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're in the home stretch, as Irv so eloquently puts it. We're talking about home-based businesses today, and there's some things that we want to cover before we close the show. If you are a home-based business, there are some things that you absolutely must have. One is a website. Right. And you want a professionally designed website, not something that, I think that you have to work harder, Irv, when you're working from home to make certain that you are projecting the right image.
Absolutely. Got to spend the money and spend the time to look right.
The next thing that you want to have, as Irv brought up earlier in the show, is a virtual assistant. or some type of back office support.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with having a professional office number that's being answered by someone who can, and they can route those calls. Like an example for you would be West Park Communications.
No doubt.
They do that. Well, they'll answer your phone call and they'll route that call to you.
Right.
That person who answers the phone is just like your assistant.
That's
Nobody calling knows any different because they're answering with your company name.
That's exactly right.
And the next is a professionally designed business card. You have to spend some money on your business card. You want to go with heavy stock, very clear, very easy to read, one business on it, rather on it. I don't want to flip it over and then you got some other type of business that's on the back of the card. I hate that.
That's right.
And then your social media campaign.
No doubt.
You have to have that, and it has to be in lockstep with your business website, your company colors. There's a way that you can do this and look very, very professional. You can look like an international company, but doing business from your house.
And you want to spend some money on a logo, folks. You gotta have a good, strong brand, something that you can put on whatever.
That's right. And there's a few places. We'll talk about some small business resources if you remind me next week.
I'll do that.
On where you can go to get a logo.
I will absolutely do
crowdsourcing type stuff.
No doubt. That'd be great.
All right. We want to thank you for tuning in to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. I'm John Cruz.
I'm Herb Hughes.
And this is the place where we discuss the topics that inspires entrepreneurs from thought to action. So until next week, we ask you to do 3 things. Be smart, be successful, and above all else,
be in action.
Irv and I will see you next week.
Go Texans.
Awesome.